Welcome to the first episode of Around the Table podcast. My name is Peter. Today I'm joined with my friend Vishwas, accountant by trade and investor by passion. I hope you guys enjoy the show. Like this whole idea, this is so crazy to me because we did this, we started it 6 or 7 years ago, I'd probably say, in high school, maybe around grade 11. And like we literally just had a mic on a table and we're like, yo, let's just do a podcast. And we just started talking nonsense. Yo, I was watching the video. I was literally watching the video like a couple weeks ago just to re-jog my memory. Bro, we're talking about nonsense. Like girls, like what this means, what that means, relationships. But we have no idea what we're talking about.
And you look back at now?
Exactly. Like looking back at now and seeing what we have now. But it's interesting to me because I think that was like a prelude to this in the sense of like where me and Adam are, where, Adam's getting into content creation and he's doing like this stuff for Change for Trades.
Yeah.
And, he has drone in the camera and so on and so forth. And I've been getting into speaking and wanting to get more comfortable with speaking and like doing camps and like doing youth groups and like doing videos on social media and so on and so forth. And it took a while to reach this point because I would say I've been getting hints for maybe like 6 to 7 months as far as like posting the videos on social media and having people saying, yo, you should start a podcast. You should start a podcast. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, but like everybody has a podcast. Like I'm devaluing what I bring to the table by saying, everybody has a podcast. Everybody does this. During the pandemic, a bunch of people started podcasts, like just talking about whatever. But it wasn't until like I'm hearing different people, like people from different walks or that I know from different areas of my life. So it might be one person from university that I went to school with saying, yo, you should start a podcast. One person I went to like middle school with that I don't talk to that said, hey, I love your videos, you should start a podcast. One person I work at Sport Check with saying I should start a podcast. Teammates, I should start a podcast. Like elementary school people that I haven't spoken to that I still have on social media saying, yo, you should start a podcast. And it wasn't until like maybe after some time where I just like sat down and I'm thinking to myself like, yo, you're not hearing it from people that you see on a regular basis. That should mean something to you.
Exactly.
Because if this is like, friends and family, they have the tendency to kind of want to boost you up and like, you should do this. If you have the idea, you should do it. But like, these are people that you don't talk to, people that you haven't seen in years, and they're saying you should do this. And then kind of looking at myself and saying, like, because everybody many people have businesses. There's a lot of pizza businesses. Yeah. Domino's, Pizza. They all sell pizza. It's a big market. They don't all sell the same pizza, but they sell pizza. And they trust their product that person X and Y is going to pick my pizza over the other pizza. The same way, whether it's, how many different cars are there, or car brands. You have Tesla, Honda, Toyota, all these different brands. They all sell cars, but different people are drawn to different brands, and it's all about what the brand brings. So thinking like that and saying to myself, like, if you want to do this, like you have the prerequisites to do it, like you've been making these videos already. Yeah. You might as well just like have a full conversation, because to make a minute video and post it is a lot, because I can talk for longer than a minute. And you have to simplify it. Like you're not bringing your whole idea to life. Right? Exactly. Like I can't explain, because when I like to be able to explain myself. If I have a conversation with someone, if I make an assertion, I want the other person to be able to rebuttal it. Exactly. So that it might either change the way I think, or I might have to clarify. Yeah. You can't do that.
And it challenges your thoughts too, right? To like think beyond your whatever Right?
Exactly my point. So like if you just make like one video on social media, first off, like it can be interpreted in so many different ways, because with language, like the words that we speak, language, it conveys words, but it also conveys pictures. And those pictures are different depending on the experiences of the individual. Exactly. That's why you can have 100 people go to one university class and 100 people leave with different thoughts. Different thoughts.
Everyone's taking away different portions of the lecture.
The professor taught the same thing to 100 people, but 100 people leave the class and are like, one person heard this, one person heard that, one person heard that. You can go to like, a comedian, like a comedy show or so on and so forth. And the words the person is saying, they're the same words everyone's hearing, but everybody's getting something different from it. And to be able and to make a video and to just put it out there and think to myself like, man, somebody might interpret it this way, or somebody might get the wrong thing, and I can't explain myself, and like I can't have like dialogue and conversation. After some time, I was like, honestly, this, I feel like right now, because of the time that is allotted to us and youth, and like we still have minimal responsibility in terms of the responsibility we will have in years to come. Like now is the perfect time to start it. And then like looking at Adam is funny because I went to, this was like a few months ago. I think I was at runs, soccer runs. And it was either Paul or somebody. They're like, yo, what's Adam up to now? And I'm like, oh, Adam's like working. He's doing this. He's doing that. And they're like, yo, that guy Adam is always doing something. And I laughed. And I thought to myself, bro, literally from high school, I know this guy. I thought he was playing hockey. He was doing well at hockey. And then after that, he was doing like fighting, boxing, so on and so forth. And everything that he did, he was invested in. Yeah. Like these are things that he loved. Like, bro, imagine hear this guy talk about UFC. Like, bro, I'm like, bro, this guy's not a commentator, bro. This guy's talking like he's a commentator. Man's telling me about what Conor McGregor's gonna do. You ever talk to Conor McGregor? Nah, you have no idea what he's gonna do. Yo, for real. Like I remember me and Josh used to sit and I'm like, bro, this guy Adam's not a UFC commentator, bro. But like looking back, I'm like, yo, everything this guy wanted to do, he was invested in. Like he wanted to do it actually. And whether it worked or not, sometimes that's out of your control. But like just putting in the effort and trying to see whether it's attainable or not, that's something a lot of people aren't willing to do. And that's where the whole fear factor comes in. Yeah. Which is why that's something we'll talk about. Because it's like, you know, I can try 5 different things. And I might not be good at those 5 different things that I try. But the fact that I tried it, like one thing is going to lead to another. Like the fact that this happened, like look at it. Like I was a soccer player, no longer a soccer player. I started running. I started speaking. And now I'm at a podcast. I never in university thought about making a podcast or even speaking publicly. Like if I use my first example, and I said this at a camp, like the first time I ever had to speak publicly was at a soccer conference that was at the University of Guelph. And coach wanted me to, like, I guess kind of sell some of the kids on, like, what it's like being a university athlete and being a soccer player. Yeah. And just because I was always one of the vocal guys on the soccer team, I'm like, yeah, I can do this for sure, whatever. We pull up to Roz, the big auditorium, but there's, like, hundreds of kids in there. And he calls me up. He's like, oh, here's Peter. He's going to tell you what it's like being a university athlete. Bro, I kid you not. Bro, I froze. I had no idea what to say. I put my hands behind my back. I was like looking down. I wasn't even looking at like the crowd because I'm like, yeah, like, you know, you reach Guelph. It's a good time. We got a good program. Like not even giving anything definitive, just like generic stuff. And like, yeah, I hope you guys have a good tournament, so on and so forth. And I went and I sat down and I was like, yeesh, holy smokes. Tough. Super, super tough for me. And then like over time now, like I'm more comfortable doing it. But I just say that to say, like if I never took that shot or if I never tried, I would have never known. And it's the same thing. Like if I use Adam, like now he's doing content creation, I'm doing speaking. This is literally a perfect combination for like a podcast because I'm not eloquent in, you know, making content, but I may be more eloquent at speaking and vice versa. He's more eloquent at doing content than maybe speaking. So we bring that together and we try to see what we can do. But the fear thing is that's something I feel like holds a lot of people back, just the fear of not knowing. The fear of not knowing. And that is like very paralyzing because if I don't know what something could be, but I know what it isn't, like that isn't enough for me to make a decision. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's like I don't know what it could be, but I know what it isn't. So I know one thing, but I don't know the other. And as people, we like to know. Like if this is what I want to do, I need to know it's going to work. We want guarantees. Yeah, I need to certainty. Know. I need certainties. Like, yo, is this going to work? You think it's going to work? Oh, you don't think so? Okay, maybe let's just hold off on that. Hold off on that. And even speak about that and say like real estate and you getting into real estate because that's something now I feel like a lot of people are talking about, but more people are scared of actually doing it than doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, even 100%. Like real estate, just in general, of getting in. Like everyone right now is so fearful, right? Mm-hmm. Prices have gone up. Some people have gotten priced out from detached homes to going into condos. Mm-hmm. But just even starting into anything, like whether it was soccer, right? Mm-hmm. Like just even playing your first competitive. My bad. Let me just fucking toss this shit.
Oh, somebody's calling?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I hate the vibrating thing. But like even like soccer, when you first started it, playing competitive, sure you were good at it, you knew it, but even taking this step to go into a next division, right? It brought some fear of unknown, right? Of what's going to happen. The same thing with real estate. Like when I first started 2 years ago, I did not know what I did. Like I just heard about it. I watched YouTube videos, went and did my research on it, but I never even knew that like my parents only bought like the house that they live in. They never bought something to go rent out to someone.
Same thing.
You know, and like what you hear is just horror stories. Oh, like tenants are bad.
Yeah.
This, you have problems and that, and oh, you factor in all that, and you're like, okay, there's a choice that I could make. I could either do it, or I could just be like, okay, when I feel ready, I'll do it. And I don't think never a time that...
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is there ever a time where you feel ready?
No, and like sometimes it's just a matter of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone to be comfortable for a point of understanding. And then again, taking yourself out of a comfort zone and trying something else new, right? So for me, it was just the fact of I could sit on the sidelines and keep watching, or I could join the action, attempt my first investment, and hey, if it does go the opposite way, like again, you spoke about it, right? At this time, we're young. We don't have the...
Minimal responsibility.
We have very minimal responsibilities compared to looking to our parents, right? Our parents have a household that they have to run.
They have kids.
And sure, even if we contribute to that household, it's not still having those bills under your name, having the mortgage under your name. It's not enough, right? So we have that time and we have the accessibility with taking on that risk. And for me, I was like, I could take on the risk and I could thrive, or I could take on the risk and learn, right? Not lose.
Yeah, I love that.
Like I don't like, sure, a loss is a loss, right? But it also brings a lesson to it, because like I do have investments now that lose, but it's not the fact that, oh yeah, I lose money on it, but I've gained knowledge that dealing with a shitty tenant, dealing with, you know, these repairs that I never dealt with in my life, you know, being in an uncharted territory of like, oh, you got like a city complaint that your electrical is not safe, and I'm like, going through those processes brings a lot of history and behind
stress too.
It brings stress, but it brings that fact though, if I want to go to the next level, how can I do it without losing? You know, you won't be able to. And even just starting off, like even my career in accounting, it was like I didn't know an accountant to like, you know, go into accounting. My parents are both like blue collar workers. My dad was a truck driver. Mom was like a factory worker. No one ever was like, oh, like this is how you're going to do accounting. It was just fact of, okay, go to school and learn along the way. You
didn't have a model. Like there was no roadmap for you.
Exactly. And like you just kind of build your own roadmap of keep trying. And you know, there's going to be moments where you fail, but you know, it's like the stock market. When it does drop, there's a bigger recovery after. And if you look at that with your life too, and treat your life like a business, you know that loss is only going to bring something greater, whether it's experience or even like the next investment you do, you know what not to look out for, you know, and like, so that's where it comes with the fact of like being in uncharted territory. Sure, a lot of people find it like it brings that sense of uncertainty, but when you get to that place and you try it, and even if you do lose, there's a portion of recovery that you're going to have after the fact of being equipped with so much more knowledge than when you first began. You know, and
it's a mix of fear and excitement because you don't know, but there's still the possibilities. That for me, I'd also say is what those two things are good driving forces. But even what you said about like the losses and stuff, like for me, like I don't look at things as good or bad until I see what they produce in me, because that's the only thing I can control. So if I, you know, incur an injury in sports, like the injury is most likely out of my control. It's something I couldn't have dealt with.
Prevented.
But if it produces resiliency, that injury was good for me. Exactly. If it produces a mentality whereby I complain and I blame the sport for what happened to me, then it was bad for me. But in both cases, I had the ability to either choose this path or choose that path. It's not guaranteed. It's literally not guaranteed, because you see, and I actually spoke about this at the youth group that I'm at. I'm a youth leader, and you know I was talking to them first about identity, because we were talking about. Well, I asked the question. I said, "Is identity? Is it who you are, or is it what you do?" But before you even answer that question, do you think identity is something that should be consistent or not? And they said it's something that should be consistent. I said, okay, some of you guys are basketball players. Are you going to be a basketball player your entire life? No. Is there a possibility that if you get injured, you'll never be able to play basketball again? Yes. Okay, so if you work a job, is there a guarantee that you'll keep that job, even if you own your own business? Because we're in a pandemic right now. People lost their businesses. So whether you're self-employed or whether you're employed, is there a chance that you can lose your job? Yes. Okay. So those things are inconsistent. And you guys said identity is something that should be consistent. So then we'll look at who you are. Can you be a patient person? Yes. Can somebody take your patience away? They said yes. And I said, how? By making me upset. But are those still not choices to get upset? Yes. Okay. So people can't take away your patience. Do you guys think people are born lazy? No, they're not born lazy. Okay, why are they lazy? Nature, nurture, could be their parents, could be the environment they grew in, so on and so forth. Okay, great. Can they change? Yes, they can change. Would it be easy? No. Okay, so people aren't born lazy, but they can develop into lazy people. But on the opposite side, people aren't born hardworking, but they can become hardworking. Yes. So then you're saying your identity should be who you are and not what you do. Yes. Okay, great. Now that we've established that, is it the people that you look up to, the heroes that you have? Because a lot of them, some of them are athletes, some of them are, like you could say, academics, more so into school. The people that you look up to, if it's not your parents, say the celebrities or athletes or whatever, do you guys know their story? Yeah, we know their story. What is their story like? It's pretty up and down. A lot of adversity. Yeah, I love it. A lot of adversity. Did they grow up in fantastic environments? No, they didn't. So how did they get out of those environments? Hard work, so on and so forth. And I'm like, okay, so the things that you guys just named, hard work, patience, resilience, those are aspects of who they are, not what they do. Mm-hmm. If they don't play sports anymore, they'll still have those aspects. Yes. Okay. So then the people that you look up to them for a reason, because you see something in them that you also see in yourself. Otherwise, it's impossible. Even if you look at movies or TV shows that we love, the Dark Knights, the superheroes, all of their stories are arches. They're up and down.
Yeah.
None of them. I have never seen a movie that I loved where the main character just had a fantastic life. Like nobody watches. It
wouldn't even be interesting to watch.
It would not be interesting because it's unrealistic.
Yeah.
It's very unrealistic. And the movies that we love are the movies that have arches. The character grew up, and wherever they grew up, there's a climax where something bad happens to them, and it looks like they'll never be able to either regain what they lost or recover from it. And at the end of the movie, they overcome all that stuff, and everybody's clapping. Yeah. Like, people are clapping at that.
People are even tearing up.
People are tearing up, exactly, because that's something that resonates with your life, like with your story, whether it's, parents coming, blue collar job, me, the same thing. My parents were immigrants from Liberia, coming here, having 4 kids. Like, these are things that we see on a daily basis. Exactly. The fact that we see them on a daily basis and the fact that we pay money to watch people do these things tells me something. It tells me that I'm capable of doing the same. And the only thing really stopping me is myself. Because if we go back to the identity thing, if it's not what I do, it's who I am, nobody can stop me from being who I am except myself.
Yeah.
Like, that is so important to know. Nobody can stop me from being patient. Literally. They can test my patience. That's a different thing. But for somebody to test my patience and for someone to take it away, those are two very different things. For somebody to make me angry or for somebody to aggravate me to anger, two very different things. Because the aggravation, I still choose whether or not I get angry. For somebody to force me to be angry, nobody can do that.
Yeah.
So once you understand those two different things, then fear becomes a much smaller aspect of your life. Because what I fear is what I don't control.
Yeah.
Okay, great. You've been alive since, say, 24 years, 25 years, some 20, some 21. You've seen a lot in your lifetime. You've seen people fearful, you've seen people excited, you've seen people happy, you've seen people sad, you've seen disappointment, you've seen failure, you've seen fear, you've seen riches, you've seen everything. Almost everything. And the people that come after us will see the exact same thing. The people that lived hundreds of years ago saw the exact same thing. There really isn't anything new in terms of things that we experience. Maybe they might be more amplified depending on your situation, but as far as the things that we see and we experience, these are things that have been around for as long as the world has been revolving. Like, there's nothing new. And if you want to find stories of people that overcame what you've gone through, you can find them. You can find them online. You can find them
to the T.
Literally,
to what T. industry you're in, to what your interests are. Like, you'll be able to find someone that failed at that time or had adversity.
Exactly. Whether it's, single parent home, came from a single parent home, you can find somebody like that.
Yeah.
Whether it's, you suffered trauma at the hands of, an ex, you can find people like that. But the main problem that I find now, and you can chime in on this, is that we are less enticed to actually speak about those things now than I think they were before. And maybe a lot of that has to do because, most of our time is spent virtually, and we try to make ourselves look a certain way virtually.
And live this false reality.
Exactly, and live this false reality. And that's the biggest difference between now and, say, 20 years ago, because social media wasn't around 20 years ago.
And, news never traveled as quick as it did, or information in general.
If you wanted to know what somebody was doing, you'd have to look at your neighbors.
Walkers.
Keeping up with the Joneses, you'd have to look at your neighbors. You wouldn't be able to go and see what somebody around the world or your friends were doing. Even if you had friends, the only way you'd know what they were doing is if you actually spoke to them.
Or you went over to them.
Now that does not happen. A lot of what happens is what I see online is what is reality to me. And now because of that, I'm more adverse to speak about what I actually think, or to speak about things that I'm actually enduring or suffering from. Because if I'm afraid, if I speak out about it, somebody's either going to look at me weird. I might change the friend dynamic. Now, all of a sudden, it's no longer jokes and laughs. And, we're talking about my problems. I'm the center of attention. Like, it's always me. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying that's what people think.
Yeah.
That's the thought that comes in. As soon as I bring this up, people are going to look at me a certain way, which I think is wrong, because a lot of what we go through has nothing to do with us and has to do with others.
Yeah.
So if I go through, say, trauma at the hands of my parents or so on and so forth, I'm not the first one to have gone through that. And I won't be the last one. And there are others that have gone through the same, and there are others that will go through the same. And if I'm able to make my way through it, or if I use your example, if I'm able to have parents that come from India and, blue collar jobs, if you follow the trajectory, I should have had a blue collar job.
Yeah.
I don't. I decided to make my own path. If I can do that, that means somebody else that comes from where I come from, or you don't even have to come from where I come from.
Yeah.
That comes from a different country, similar situation, parents are working overnights just so I can go to school, so on and so forth. You can also do the same, but you don't know it's possible until you see it. Which is why, like, a lot of the talk about representation and so on and so forth, that talk is happening, because if I grow up in Malton and I don't see anybody who's an accountant, or I don't see anybody who's a lawyer, or I don't see anybody who's a doctor, or anybody who does stocks, or whatever it is, my view is very limited to what I see in school. What I see in school.
Yeah, and you can attest to that too, right? Mm-hmm. Like, just going to university and, like, having... Obviously, we had a melting pot in Malton.
Yeah,
right. But there's predominantly you had like for me, I had black friends
and Indians,
literally
black and Indians.
And it was like it's a direct split.
Yeah,
and there was just like this whole like culture gap that we were missing, and I felt like when I went into university, and you could probably like have that same feeling when you went into university and you saw like just different cultures from different areas, like socioeconomic statuses too, and like come together in this like one like place. You just see like everyone's experiences and like sort of like trials and tribulations are very similar.
Very, very.
Like if we go to the core of it, it's they're very similar, but it's just the fact of like like someone might have an advantage because their parents are already in that field.
Yeah, exactly.
And like their trajectory is so
it's already planned out.
It's
already planned out. My dad is a lawyer. I'm going to go into law. I'm going to do political science, so on and so forth. I know the plan.
It's laid out for you.
It's laid out for you.
You know, and there is no fear of unknown besides just trying.
Exactly.
And you're like, oh, if my parents did it, there's a 99% chance.
A higher percent chance.
Then when your parents never did it and you're the only one doing it and going through it, you think that there's such a obstacle
there's
put
barriers,
up,
barriers.
But you're not actually thinking about that. What do I have in me? Do I have that resilience? Do I have the power to fail and go back at it and succeed? And if you look at it from that angle instead of just looking at this is uncharted territory, I don't know what the hell's going on here, you're never gonna jump onto that boat.
Never. And also like the fact that you said that, because for me, like if I'm gonna make a decision, and I've learned a lot of this through running, if I'm going to make a decision to make a change in my life, it has to be bigger than just doing it for me. Because if I want to do something for myself, I've proven to myself, and other people have proven to themselves, that doing it for me is not enough.
Yeah.
Like that, it doesn't cut it. It's literally not. It might get me so far, but at some point in time, which is what I came through in running, there's going to be a wall, and there's going to be a big wall there. And you're going to have to explain to yourself why you're willing to run through that wall. Because that wall is going to be painful.
Like it's just you is not going to get, not be enough to get through it.
If I'm doing it for myself, the bruises and stuff are not going to be worth it.
Yeah, you're going to be like, I just want to be fit,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to go through this pain.
Exactly, because like the bruises that I incur, I have to heal from.
Yeah.
Nobody else is going to heal from it for me. So if I go through something traumatic, like, yes, I can talk to other people about it, but the responsibility still lies with myself to go through that. So it has to be there has to be a bigger motivation. And for me, like I told the story of one of the like catalysts for why I actually started running, because I believe in what I've seen myself is that like life will give you glimpses of where you're going. Like if you want to see where you're going, whether it's university and you enter a field and there's professors that are in that field that are doing what you want to do, you can talk to them and see how they got there, what it cost them, not monetary, but as far as like what they had to lose to get there.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like I went when I was in Guelph, and I had like a severe lower back problem. Like I couldn't stand up straight. I was wearing back braces. I never wanted to take painkillers, and I was working landscaping. and like one of those like scruffy, scruffy jobs, a bunch of scruffy guys like making a few questionable jokes here and there. I'm in the truck and it just smells like cigarette smoke. Like, bro, I remember being always in the passenger and there's like 3 guys smoking cigarettes. I'm like, brother, you guys can't open the window. You guys trying to hotbox the place with cigarette smoke. I'm like, bro, I'm a soccer player. I can't breathe. Literally cannot breathe. I remember one time we were driving by and this guy. And you're driving by, and there was this Asian lady walking by, and the man in the backseat went, "Yo, you guys seen that Ling Ling?" I said, "Yo, holy!" I said, "Yo, that's so crazy."
They're nuts.
Nuts. Just saying anything.
They don't think twice before a word comes out of their mouth.
Bro, this guy literally would walk around with a 2-liter bottle of Coca-Cola and drink it like water. I kid you not.
I had a professor like that, man. Every class he came to, it was a brand new bottle
of Coca-Cola.
And it's done by the end of the class.
I'm like, yo, brother, this business is not going to last long if you keep drinking Coca-Cola. Because it's his business. But literally, it's his business, man. It's drinking Coca-Cola. I'm like, bro, how long you want to have this business for? None of these guys are going to take over from you. I promise you. Landscaping company. But anyways, there's this guy. And he was like, I wasn't able to hold the wheelbarrow with the mulch because we'd be like carrying mulch, and it was heavy and it put a lot of strain on my back. So I would have to tell him, and he used to get cheese all the time. I'm like, bro, I can't take this because of my back. And there's one of these guys. He's like, bro, why are you complaining? He's like, I literally take painkillers for the same problem you have. And for some reason, like, I haven't had a moment in my life where I just paused, and I'm like, you take painkillers for your back? He's like, yeah, I have the same lower back disc problem, and I also did my knee playing soccer, so on and so forth. And every morning I take painkillers before I start my day. And I just, to myself, I'm like, bro, that is so crazy. I just, in my head, and it's not like I planned out running, although that's when the thought first came in my head. I'm like, bro, I'm not trying to go out like that. I'm like, I asked him how old he was. He said he was 27. I think I was 20 or 21 at the time. And I just looked forward 5-6 years, like where my back could be if I didn't prioritize taking care of it. Yeah. Because this guy is telling me he had the same problem at 20 and he takes painkillers. So if I follow his path, his trajectory, I will be in the exact same position. That is not a position I want to be in. And then things developed over time and I eventually got into running. But like the glimpses of where you want to go, I think always, like, you're going to find people that are, because again, there's nothing new really that takes place. Like, somebody wants to do what you did, or somebody already did what you want to do. Podcasts, bro, there's millions of people that have started podcasts. So you can follow the journey, see how they went about doing it. Like, just because you have this big idea, it doesn't mean you're the first one to have it. Some people have tried it and it didn't work. Others have and it did. But you can typically figure out just by, I guess, pitting your experiences against theirs, like what it's going to cost you. Exactly. And then it's either whether you're willing to pay that cost or not, because what it costs them is not going to cost you, because you don't pay with money. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the thing. These things don't cost money. It's more so what you have. Like, it's going to take what you have. So like that maybe
energy, like
your energy, and maybe time with your friends, time with your family, time doing things you actually want to do. Like, it's going to take away from all of that. And on top of that, you're going to have to pay money to get it done. Yeah. So if you want to do that, you have to understand that it's going to be expensive. It's going to cost you a lot. And running costs me a lot, especially like with the shin splints, like the injuries and the pains, and like just taking summers literally to just focus on running, to the point where, like, I remember hitting that wall I was talking about, that like proverbial wall where it's like, it's either you keep doing this or you stop. Like, this is where you make the decision, because it's paining you right now. You don't feel any improvement. You don't feel like you're getting better. Like, your feet are hurting. Like, you're complaining about like your knees, so on and so forth. Like, why are you doing this? And I'll never forget, there was one of my friends, Michael, he started running because he saw me running, and I remember this guy messaged me out of the blue, and he's like, yo, bro, I've been watching you post your runs, bro, don't stop running. Like, yo, you've encouraged me. He named a few former soccer players I used to play with that started running because of me, that I had no idea. No way. And like, I saw that, and like, I was like, that's why you're doing it. Like, this is the exact same. My mom started running as well. Impact. I'm like, yeah, impact. Like, impact. That's why you're doing it. So now that I heard that, and I've heard it more often now, that is obviously good to hear, but like, it kind of strengthens your resolve, because again, like, when you're in those positions where you're doing something and you know why you're doing it, but life is going to throw you some curveballs, and it's going to be like, is that really why you're doing it? Is that really, like, you're going to get tested? Is that really why you're doing it? Always ask that same question. Is that why you're doing it? And after some time, you're actually going to have to tell the truth. Like, are you doing it for that reason? Or
your true colors will show over time.
Exactly. Right? Exactly. Like, you're going to get exposed, essentially. Mm-hmm. Like, is that why you're doing it? Like, because you look at athletes, for instance, guys that go to the league, so on and so forth, and some of them don't last long. Like, talented guys that don't last long.
It happens.
You see guys that like hard workers that are able to grind 10, 11 years in the league. Not the most talented guys.
Just work
ethic.
But
the work ethic is ridiculous. And you can't buy that. Like it's something, it's either you want to have it or you don't. Like you literally can't buy it.
And you could get it over time, right? Like you could build it over time. It's not the fact that, like you're born with it or you're not.
You're not. It's part of who you are.
Who you are.
Exactly.
You build, you mold into that person over time that keeps trying. You put in the hours, you're going to get the results you want.
Exactly.
It just might not be on your time.
Exactly. That's important. Like, that's very important.
And we think that our time is the perfect time, but it's like things will fall into place as they come.
Exactly.
Like you don't even know when you'll be ready, but when you're there and you're going through it, you're gonna be ready for it. You gotta have that thick skin, and that's where like when people are reaching out to you and like Peter, like thanks, like you motivated me to run, like that thickens your skin too.
Exactly, yeah.
That gives you a little bit of a shield that like when you do go through something, you're like, nah, I gotta keep thinking because there's other people that are gonna be watching, sitting on their couch.
Bro, trust
and they're like, yo, I gotta get up and run. And if I keep doing this, I'm gonna keep positively impacting. And that's what it's about. It's not even about, like, even for me, like, it's not even about the money. It's just more of like an impact. And right now, it's about the impact just that it would, like, whatever I've done, had within my family. But it's gonna get to a point where it trickles, and other people in your circle will start to get impacted by what you do and want to do what you're doing, to be at that place as well too. And definitely say, like,
I'd say even like, because I think the times that we live in right now, the world that we live in right now, people want things quickly, and that doesn't only apply to wanting to attain something for yourself, wanting to attain something for the world. Like, bro, you're not gonna solve all the world's problems in a month.
No.
It's literally impossible. Like, it's literally impossible. Like, problems are complex.
And like, people go 25 years complex. And trying to,
Bro, literally, there are people that have dedicated their lives to solving certain problems, like specific problems.
And it's just so minute to the entire world, right?
Exactly. Like, very minute. And to think that, if I post this or I post that, I'm going to be able to solve this problem, like, things are very, very, very complex. So it's not, you can't expect things to change quickly or over time, because as quickly as things change, they'll go right back to how they were. As time I find is so important, because like great things are very slow of growth.
Yeah.
Great things are very slow of growth.
There's no instant gratification.
You can't plant an apple tree today and expect to see an apple tree in a week or in a month. It doesn't work like that. Like, if I use, like, a woman can't get pregnant today and give birth tomorrow. It's impossible. It takes 9 months. That is 9 months for a human life. To develop a human life, it takes 9 months. That is crazy. But the amount of pain that a woman goes through during those 9 months, that for me is kind of like analogous of actually what it's like to try to birth something that is going to last longer than you. Because what you're doing is you're birthing a story. Whether you realize it or not, you're birthing a story. Whether it's me running, like, running is what I do, but when I'm gone, like, that might be something that my kids do.
Yeah.
And then so on and so forth. Like, I've created something that is going to live longer than me.
Instilled in from generation.
Generation to generation. The same thing with you. So it's about planting something that's going to last longer than me. And if I want to plant, say, a rose bush, it's not going to take a long time to rose bush, you get them per season. Exactly. But if I'm going to plant, say, a tree in my backyard, that is going to be there when the house is gone.
Yeah.
When the kids are gone, when everything is gone, that tree is still going to be there. But it requires me digging much deeper than I would if I was going to plant, say, just a rose bush or like a vegetable plant or so on and so forth. Those things come and go every season. For a tree outlasts winter, it outlasts summer, it outlasts spring, it outlasts autumn. You've seen storms. Trees have remained throughout storms. Winter storms, minus 40-degree weather. I'll never forget when we had that ice storm, maybe 5, 6, 7. I still have that picture in my phone. The trees are covered in ice. What happened? The ice thawed. The trees are still there. I still have that tree in my backyard.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. But it just tells me if I'm going to, it depends, again, on my motivations. Because I spoke about this, like, whether your motivations are, whether you're driven by ego or purpose. Because they're two very different things. Ego is more so for somebody else or to display it to somebody else, or you can come up with other examples. But purpose is something that's going to outlast me. It's going to live longer than me. And if I want to do something for purpose, because I had this conversation yesterday with a kid that came and asked me, he wanted to get more active, more fit, he wants to change the way he eats, so on and so forth. And the first question I asked him was why he wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's great to want to do that, but everybody says they want to do that. I'm like, are you doing this for external validation because you're in high school and you want people to see the transformation, as most people do? Because if you do, I'll still tell you how to get it, but you're gonna lose it just as quickly as you get it. Because as soon as you get what you're looking for, the motivation and the desire to continue it's going to cease. Exactly. It's going to cease. You're going to get back to exactly where you were before. But if you want something that's going to outlast you, if you're saying to yourself, I want to get more healthy because maybe my parents aren't healthy and I want them to see me working every single day or every single week, or maybe my friends aren't healthy and I want to change the dynamic of the group. Like, bro, when I started running, Adam started running when I started running, and I'll never forget, bro, this guy, I've been telling this guy to run a 10K for time. I'm about to tell this story. 10K for time. And I think it was Marlon's birthday party last year. Yeah. Remember?
This guy,
and I told, bro.
Oh, no, foot, right?
Foot. I told this guy, I said, yo, because he knew, like, I was running, I wasn't drinking, I wasn't doing nothing. And I told this guy, I was like, yo, if you run 10 kilometers, I will drink with you. I'll get drunk with you.
Yeah.
And I said, bet? I said, yeah. In my head, I'm like, but this guy's not going to do it. This guy's not going to run 10 kilometers. I know Adam, bro. The man has never run more than 5 kilometers in his life. Come to see, and I think I antagonized him because one morning I messaged him. It was the morning before, but I'm like, bro, I know you're not going to do it. It was super hot. It was summer. I'm like, bro, it's super hot. You're not running today, so on and so forth. I shouldn't have done that. I drove the dagger, bro. This guy I pulled up. I think I was either at a friend's house or maybe I was on a walk or something. And this guy FaceTimed me. And as soon as I saw the FaceTime, I'm like, bro, this guy did it. I'm like, bro, this guy did it. I don't think I answered the FaceTime. More times, I look on Instagram, I see a story posted, 10 kilometers. I say, yo, Peter, you better be ready for Marlon's crib. I said, yo, there's no way this guy ran 10 kilometers just to get me drunk. I said, yo, man's motivated by different things,
Yeah,
for real. But it's still, like, I'm still proud of, like, the man ran a 10K, but it was like, that would have never happened if, like, running wasn't even a topic of discussion.
Exactly.
Like, if it wasn't a topic of discussion, period, if I wasn't doing that never happens.
It would never.
That literally never happens.
You would never run that 10K.
No, never. Because then we're not talking about whether or not I'm doing it if you do this. It's not conditional on anything. It's just like, all right, fine. When we get there, like, vibes, so on and so forth. But there's a condition attached to it, and it's like a healthy condition. But the guy busts up his foot, everything. Man, I have bandages, bro. I seen this guy. Yo, when I saw this guy limping, I was like, yo, this guy Adam is ridiculous. I was like, yo, this guy's actually ridiculous. And the man still came with energy. And man, like, yo, how many shots are you taking? I said, yo, bro, you're not worried about your foot? Bandage everything around the foot, like the guy played a 90-minute soccer game. Bro, holy smokes, yo, that killed me. But, like, for me, like, it's all fun and games, but it's good because this wasn't what we were talking about years ago. Like, in high school, we weren't talking about this stuff.
Completely different mindset.
Completely different. But the change and the growth is so important because growth has nothing to do with how old you get. It has nothing to do with how old you get. You've heard people call big kids.
Yeah.
Like, you've heard people call other people big kids.
Yeah.
40-year-old, you're a big kid. You've seen other people, little man, a kid who's acts like he's older than he is.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with age. It has everything to do with maturity and being able to grow. And the only way you gain maturity, I feel, well, a lot of it has to do with decisions, like the decisions that you make, when you know right or wrong. And if you choose right more times, that shows that you're becoming more and more mature. But it also has to do with experiences. And if you don't have a lot of experiences, it's very hard to mature because the only lens you see through is your own.
One dimensional.
Your own. It's very, very difficult to grow that way. But even still, like, we know people from high school that are still either doing what they were in high school, or I know people in university that are still living that, like, university lifestyle, so on and so forth. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, obviously, to each their own, but it's just important to know that, like, growth has nothing to do with how old you get, because you hear people saying, I'm older, I'm wiser, so on and so forth. And sometimes we say it as a joke, but we also have to be careful about what we say because that's what we project to other people. I know nothing about you until you open your mouth.
Exactly.
I can't judge you by what you wear. Whether you wear designer, whether you don't, so on and so forth. You hear rich people don't wear designer. You hear broke people wear designer. Even still, I can't judge you until you open your mouth. Once you start speaking to me, I start to create a picture of what kind of person you are. So if you say, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this and I'm that, and it turns out you're not that, whatever you say after that, it goes through one ear and it comes out the other. As far as for me, like, believing you, like, being a man of your word, like, as soon as you show me that you're not actually about what you're talking about, it doesn't matter if you come back later. It's like the boy who cried wolf and say, this is what I'm about. It doesn't matter. Yeah. For me, it's like, bro, you've already said this. That's not who you are. So whatever you say after it goes through one ear and it goes out the other. And it's very quickly, as time goes by, that once people start to distrust you for what you say, it's very hard to gain experiences. It's also very hard to gain opportunities, because I'm banking on my trust in you. Like if opportunity comes up and somebody says, yo, can you trust this guy? And I get a doubt, that's tough. It's like,
tough. It's like you're not gonna say it.
No,
because
I'm
then
not.
You're putting your name up.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. Like even at like a small job like Sport Check, bro. I've gotten 2 friends of mine jobs at Sport Check. You know how many friends have asked me to work at Sport Check from when I started?
Probably
more than. And it's like, I'm thinking to myself, bro, if you come to this workplace, we're friends and stuff, but bro, if your name is attached to mine and you start acting the way you do when we're chilling, I'm not having business over pleasure. Always. Exactly. Business over pleasure. My name is very important. And even though we're friends, the friend thing is great. Like, we have good times when we're together. But like once we get into the real world where people are judging you based off what you say and what you do, and you don't have the maturity to discern between this environment and that environment, I can't be the same in both environments. Yeah. Then I can't have that attached to my name. And I'm sure you've probably experienced something similar.
Oh, 100%. Like, especially just going, like you obviously have your hometown friends, and then you have like people from university, then you have like your colleagues from work, like all 3 completely different environments and 3 completely different conversations that you'll have actually going on, right? Like obviously you'll have friends from university that you would treat like hometown friends. You'll have those open and honest conversations, but when you're in a workforce, like you got to think before you actually say, and whatever you say, you have to be able to back it up as well too, because you can't just be making blanket statements, right? No. And there's like, it is true though. Like when you see people that have like a flabber mouth and they say whatever,
they say
anything, you're like, you haven't been in the world enough to know that that's not acceptable. Like it's not the fact that it's not
for a good reason though.
Exactly. Like it's not the fact that we don't want to hear what you have to say, but it's the fact that there's a time and place for to have those type of conversations, and that wasn't the time.
That wasn't the time. Yeah, literally. No, but the fact that like, there's a good reason for that, because I can only build trust in you based off what you do and what you say. That is it. Yeah. Like if you talk about confidence, and we can probably all agree confidence is an attractive quality. Yeah. Girls want confident guys want confident girls. Confidence is attractive. And it doesn't speak, you can just see it. Yeah. You can see it in the way somebody carries themselves, in the way they speak, what they say, what they don't say. You can read confidence. Another word for confidence is trust. So confidence is trust. So trust in what? Trust in who I am, that I know who I am. Yeah. I also know what I'm talking about. Because if I don't, you can also hear conviction in someone's voice. If they don't sound convincing, all of a sudden you have doubt. Yeah. Like what he's saying, he doesn't even sound like he knows what. No, he doesn't. Like he doesn't sound like he knows what he's saying. Exactly. But when you do know what you're talking about and you do know who you are, nobody can come and just tell you who you are. Like it's not gonna work.
And like even if they try to point out a flaw, like you know who you are, like that's not even gonna come into your mind and be like, oh, like this person called me weak. Yeah. Am I really weak? Like, if you have that confidence in yourself, that person saying you're weak is not even going to touch you. Exactly. It's just going to bounce back to them. Like it's a comment that just throws back,
Unless, and I posed this question to a friend because, like I was saying, confidence is an attractive quality and people love confidence, but what happens when the confidence is attached to something perishable? So,
like designer.
It could be designer. It could be my job. It could be it could be obviously like the clothes I wear. It could be my family's background. It could be what I do, so on and so forth. That I think becomes very dangerous, only because like my confidence leaves with whatever it's attached to. So it's almost like having a dog and having something to attach to the dog. When the dog's ready to go, that thing is gone. Like it's gone. Yeah. And you can't get it back. You literally can't get it back. Like I said, the whole identity thing. Is it what you do or is it who you are? If it's what you do, then if my patience, and this is actually when I see, because for some reason, everybody's a good person. Yeah. Everybody portrays themselves as a good person. Bro, this person hurt me. I didn't deserve it. I got into this relationship. They were this, they were that. And everybody's a good person. I just want somebody who's going to be good to me the way I'm good to them. All this stuff. And I always hear this stuff. And I'm like, bro, we can't all be talking about the same thing. Yeah. We can't all be good people and be dating each other and then saying the other person is not good and we're good. We're good. So for me, it's like, if I'm only good when people are good, that does not make me a good person. Yeah. Because then my good is conditional. It is conditional on you being this to me. The golden rule is treat others how you want to be treated. The golden rule is not treat others how they treat you.
It's not tit for tat.
It's back. It is literally backwards.
Yeah.
It's not treat others how they treat you, because if I do that, then I'll treat literally. If we're friends, and you have one bad day, and I'm like, why is this guy acting like that? Yeah. Why is he moving like that? Like, I didn't do nothing type thing. And all of a sudden I take that all personally, and I decide to treat you the exact same. First off, we get nowhere, but then my character becomes conditional. And it's conditional on how you treat me. And that becomes a problem, because, again, when you get into the workforce, not everybody's going to treat you lovely.
Oh, no.
Everybody has their own, they want to get where they want to go. Everybody has their own motivations, their intentions.
And it's just, like, also, like, stature, too, right? Like, like a VP is not going to be treating, like,
yeah, exactly.
It just is what it is.
Literally.
They'll treat you like a human by all means, but, like, there's levels to it, right?
Exactly.
Like, and as you get your experiences, you'll be at that level where, yeah, sure, that VP will be talking to you, because you're a VP at that time, too, right? Like, they'll be talking to you in that tone.
Exactly, but all of that, again, it comes with time, and it comes with trust, because, like, if my character is conditional and I have conditional character, then my character changes like the seasons.
Yeah.
When it's winter, I'm cold. When it's summer, I'm hot. When it's spring, I'm rainy. I'm in a bad mood. When it's autumn, the leaves are blowing. My character is the exact same way, which is why for me, like, one of the biggest things that I've gained from running over time is that, like, I have to be the same in every condition, every weather. I ran today, bro, minus 14 degrees. My hands were freezing. My toes were freezing. That one Monday, that snowstorm, when I ran through that snowstorm, bro, the snow was up to my ankles. Literally my ankles. I was doing sand training. Like, I was literally just running through sand. Literally running through white sand. And all the while, in my head, I'm like, bro, the fact...
If you don't know, if you don't know, it was like 40 centimeters or 60 centimeters of snow. Still. Like, if you're not from Ontario or you were not from the GTA, like, that past Monday, it was reckless weather.
Yo, bro, I'm telling you,
it was not something to be running.
Yeah, I was looking at CB Tour. Everybody stay indoors. They said stay indoors. And the day before, I was at my young adults group, and this girl came to me. Oh, my friend Debbie came to me and asked me. She's like, "Are you still gonna run tomorrow? Because it's Monday. I run every Monday." And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, are you sure? Like, have you seen what the weather's saying? I'm like, yeah, I've seen what the weather's saying. And I've actually marked it off in my calendar, because, like, for me, and I had the conversation with Adam when we first started, I'm like, that was like my coming out party for some people, because people thought I was running for a joke. Like, I was just running. I'm like, bro, I'm like, you guys have been seeing me post 3 to 5 times a week running, and you guys are surprised that I'm running in a snowstorm. Like, I expected that from myself. I was surprised other people didn't expect it of me. And then all of a sudden people are like, bro, you're different. You're built different. I'm like, bro, you guys didn't know this? I've been running for, coming now, it'll be March, 2 years. I've run in the winter. I've run in the spring. I've run in the summer. I've done a half marathon. Take this in, the whole difference. I've done a half marathon in 35-degree weather in the summer, and I've done a half marathon in minus 10-degree weather in the winter. The difference in that is ridiculous.
Like, time-wise.
Time-wise, weather-wise, like, bro, ridiculous. And to me, it's like, bro, I expect it of myself. Like, it's a contract I signed with myself.
Yeah.
That's the whole trust confidence thing. Like, I signed that contract. I didn't have any signatures. I didn't call my friend, like, hey, sign this part. I said that to myself. It's like, yo, if you're going to do this, this is the standard we're going to set. And I had the conversation again when I said, since January 2021, I said 100 kilometers minimum a month. Minimum. We don't go below 100 kilometers for whatever reason. 100 kilometers, I usually do, like, on average, maybe 120, 130, 140. Minimum 100 kilometers a month. In October, I had a slow month. I did 80, and I was pissed off with myself. I'm like, bro,
because you didn't hit your goal. Like,
no, my standard, just the standard. Like,
it's not even your goal.
No, I went below the standard, and I was talking to a friend, and they didn't get it. They're like, I'm like, bro, I did 80 this month. I was supposed to do minimum 100. They're like, yo, why are you upset? I'm like, bro, what do you mean, why am I upset? Like, the standard is 100. Like, you don't fall beneath the standard. Yeah. But again, if you don't have a standard, then it doesn't matter where you land. But that was something I said to myself, like, with nobody around, like, yo, 100 kilometers a month, regardless. This month, like, I had COVID for the first 9-10 days. So I only really got to run for 3 weeks. After the run today, I'm at 111 kilometers. After missing 1 whole week, I was still able to hit that. Because for me, it's like, yo, it actually doesn't matter what happens. If I get sick or if I so on and so forth, I can always find a way to work it. Yeah. Like, if I have to get up, like, at 6 a.m., and do the 10 or do the 8 or do, like, the 15 or however much, I just have to get it done, because one, that's how I build trust in myself, and that's how other people trust me.
Yeah.
Because if I'm saying I want to be a man of my word, then I have to keep my word to myself.
Yeah.
Because then not only that, people see that. Like people watch you. Like they're not spending time watching you, but they still peek over and like, yo, what's that guy up to? What's he doing? So on and so forth.
He's still doing that running thing.
Literally, is he still doing that running thing? So it's like, if they look over 10, 20 times and they're still seeing you do the same thing, like that's now all of a sudden you become a trustworthy person.
Yeah.
Because if the time comes and somebody says, hey, I need somebody to do this for me, like, do you know anybody that would fit these roles? I can't tell you how many times. Literally how many times. There was one instance, this didn't happen, but the athletic director at Guelph, University of Guelph, and keep in mind, he did this in my fourth year. So I stopped playing soccer in my third year.
Yeah.
Fourth year, I wasn't playing soccer. I was still finishing my degree. And I got an email from him. At this time, I had run like the Toronto Homeless Project, like when I raised $3,000 for that. I had done the Christmas project in Malton with the $4,000 for that. And the following year, which was basically 2021, I got an email from him, and he was saying, hey, Peter, and he knew me from soccer camps because I worked at soccer camps. He's like, hey, Peter, I've been following you on LinkedIn and seeing like the running and stuff you've been doing and stuff like that. And I got an email from TSN, and they were asking for like a student athlete that they could like interview that's doing like a lot of like work in the community, so on and so forth. Keep in mind, I wasn't even on the soccer team. I literally was not even on the soccer team. This guy emailed me. He's like, yo, I thought you're the first person that came to mind. I thought you'd be the perfect person just based off what you've been doing, so on and so forth. Can I set it up? Now, it never took place because they went a different direction, but that gave me enough enough drive, I can say, where it's like, yo, what you're doing is not going unnoticed. And even though you're doing it for yourself, like, other people are watching you.
Yeah.
Like, not even in the same city, because I'm in Mississauga and he's in Guelph. Not even in the same city. People are watching you. So it's bigger than what you're doing, because, again, if people are going to trust you with things, if I'm going to either, enter a business deal with you, let's say it like that.
Yeah.
If I'm going to enter a business deal with someone, especially if I want it to be long term, I need to be able to trust them.
Yeah.
Short term, maybe trust isn't that important. I just want to get what I want out of the deal, and they want to get out what they want. But if it's a long term game that I'm playing, then I need to be able to play that with long term people. And long term people are trustworthy people. And if I can't trust you, we can't play long term games.
Yeah.
If it's short term gain that I'm after, then whether or not I trust you is irrelevant. I'm coming into the deal with this. This is where I want to get out. This is the minimum I'm willing to get out of it. You want what you want. I'm not really overly concerned as long as I don't lose too much of what I want to get out.
Exactly.
But after that, it's done.
It's done.
It's literally done.
No. I believe in that, definitely. Like, even just like going back to the whole point of like people not even people noticing you, but you having that contract with yourself. Like, I had like a moment like that, I would say in I think it was 2021. Yeah, 2021. Because I passed my CPA.
Yeah, that was last year.
Yeah, and I got my results in that November. And like, basically, when I got my results, I was working on a basement in Windsor. Yeah, and that was like probably like one of the most like shittiest times. Like, I'm not gonna say difficult. It's just a shitty time. Dealing with stresses that like I never ever encountered. Never taught how to manage and like just like having like Adam come out do trips with me. Like other friends go.
I remember those snaps of here kick up on the dashboard. He would be kick up, and I'm like, bro, this guy's going OT again.
Like it was, and like. I passed my CPA and I was like, yo, like this is lit. Like woke up in the morning, did it, and then my buddy's like, oh, like what are you doing today? I'm like, oh, like I'm going to Windsor. He's like, bro, like what? Like you just passed your CPA today. Like this is like something you've been waiting 5-6 years to hear, right? And I'm like, yo, like I got shit to do. Yeah, we got to go get business dealt with, and if things are not done in time, there's gonna be people mad. Yeah, right. Like I need to get this done not only for myself, but for the other people that are waiting. Like, and I was just like, at that point, that's when I knew, like, yo, whether like there's a deal in like Sudbury, whether there's a deal in Windsor, whether there's a deal in like Calgary, like I'm gonna try to get something done. Like, and I was like, at that point, that's when I knew that like I'm willing to give whatever for this. Like.
So would you say you were always like that, like from middle school, high school? Did you always have that like mentality, or did you develop it was it brought about by someone or by something?
Like I'd definitely say like it was always there. Like you know, like
there?
it was always there. Like I wouldn't say that like I was a person to like give up quick. Whether like you know I played soccer too competitive.
Yeah.
It wasn't like crazy.
No, I remember playing up to Ascension.
Yeah, man. So just you know we had that 1-2 sauce. Yeah. But like even that too. Like it was like there was definitely portions like you know where you had like. You had to be resilient, you know, to like whether you were playing back-to-back games or you had, you know, one game here, the next game next weekend. Like that was a portion. And then even in high school, like just like me and my brother, we used to do these like parties. They're like semi-formal parties, and we used to sell tickets.
Oh, say word.
Yeah, they're called Versa Night. You know, like.
Oh, I heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and like we did that back in like starting in I would say grade 10 all the way. I was in grade 10. My brother was in grade 12.
Yeah.
And we started doing it in grade 10 because the school stopped doing it. So we're like, let us make our own.
Jeez.
And then let's just, you know, we'll get it together. And I'm like, okay, like, you know, like that was another portion. And even in like middle school, like I had teachers always telling me like, you're good at math, you're good at this. So just hearing that, like, you know, like, like, oh, I have this tool that I could take, you know, and always knowing that I kind of had like a business focus. Like resilience was always being put up. Like I always had like barriers, you know, there was always some sort of trouble that I had to overcome to go get there, you know, like whether even like through soccer, just started off as being a goalie, like all the time throughout playing in Malton, like moved up from being a goalie to like being, you know, a midfielder and like being a captain of one of the teams in like, you know, a certain year. And I was like, I'd be like, you know, for myself, that was a point where the coach just saw me as just, hey, like I was a backup keep and staying, progressing over time, you know, building that thick skin and getting to the point where he saw that I would be a leader and gave me the like that badge of like, hey, you're the captain for like, you know, this season to go forward. And I'm like, all right, like that was another accomplishment that took me there. And then as well, just like even university was uncharted territory. No one of my family like
had been to university.
You know, like even my brother, he went to college and he went late as well too. And that too, I think I was the one who was kind of that pushing force too.
You wanted him to go to college.
Yeah, like I was like, yo, bro, like our parents done more than enough for us. Like at least the minimum you could do is just go get an education, you know. And they're not trying to tell you to go out of your comfort zone. Go study what you know, what's like what you're interested in too. But just go use your time wisely, right? But like just even getting into university and having that being in that uncharted territory, obviously it was stress, you know, and then knowing that like you can't just get a job in today's world by just getting a degree, you know, like,
bro,
like, when they sat there and was like, yo, go to uni, you're gonna get a degree right after, and you're gonna get a job.
Fact.
That's not how it works.
No, that's not how it works.
You go there, like, you gotta join. Like, first of all, you gotta have like an A+ average. Then you gotta have this student group,
and then you have to talk to professors. Yo, you know how scared I was to talk to professors
because those guys have like 10, 20 years in the game.
Literally, you know? And these guys are like, you hear them talk. I'm like, bro, I don't even speak proper English. Like I speak slang. Like when I'm walking in, like I want to make sure there's commas and periods when I'm speaking.
Bro, that was a real thing of like going to university and like I stopped listening to rap music like for a really long portion of
when you first entered.
When I first entered, like during my semesters, I wouldn't listen to music.
Oh,
like,
so
yeah, like it was just the thing because.
Bro, I had my Beats headphones on every single day.
You're listening to the future.
Yeah, facts.
You're not going into a lecture hall and like ready to like.
Yeah, you're not in the. Yeah, you're not
in that mindset. And like, I picked up this trick where it was just like you listen to classical music when you study. So I used to listen to like Mozart, Beethoven.
How long did that take you though? Because I tried that too, and it was just like I would always crave like something more like bumping. But
the thing was is that. Like Beethoven and like Mozart, it's intense. Depending on depending on the symphony you're listening to, like it gets intense. So like that was like one trick that I picked up, and like through the semesters I wouldn't even listen to music. And then when we would have like that month off for like winter break, Christmas, and all that stuff, that's when I would listen back to music. But then when I would go back in like January, it's like cut off again.
That concludes our first episode of Around the Table podcast. If you liked what you heard, you can follow social media handles below, and we hope to have more conversations like this down the road.